Hello fellow map makers, welcome to tonight's live map making session. Hope you're all doing good, long time no see. It's back after almost a month of not doing live streams. Unfortunately we had Remy chiming in and doing a couple while I was away. But you can now hear my bells in the background again, yes, as Bill notes in the chat. Sound seems to be fine. That's excellent. You might hear some storm grumbling still in the background occasionally, and even perhaps some sirens from emergency services, because we've just had a big thunderstorm roll across, and mostly we didn't get hit by the worst parts of it, fortunately. So I'm good with the computer here. But I had it shut off for a couple of hours before the session tonight, and so that means I'm less well prepared than I was hoping to be. But let's see how it goes and how we can manage. Alright, to get back into the swing of things, I want to start a new map today, basically a layout battle map of a hilltop fort that I might need for my gaming myself, so I can combine these two together and show you a bit how to create such a map from scratch. And if you've got any questions during the session, as usual, put them in the chat. We've got lots of people there who'll be happy to help out and answer your questions, and if possible I can also show stuff on screen, as Sue will forward me any questions that I can help with. Alright, so let's see how we can do this, whether the internet holds up. We had a bit of an internet outage earlier, but only for a short time, and it looks like the storm is past now, and there's not much danger of that happening again at the moment. Alright, what you see here on screen is an example from the Deluxe Battle Map annual that I created a few years ago, and I want to use the template of that annual because that combines a couple different bitmap dungeon styles into one whole, so they can use the fill styles interchangeably, and sets up a few extra sheets and layers so to make some more elaborate battle maps a little bit easier. I've prepared a map for that, the correct size already, but just to show you how to access that map style, you'll click the new map icon up on the file toolbar. I'm gonna not save my changes here, and the map type is dungeons, decide settings myself, click next, and then it's the annual Deluxe Battle Maps style here. And if you click that, and let's just quickly create a sample map. Save this over temp. And then you'll see that if you go into the fill styles and the bitmap files here, that this got fill styles from Dungeon Designer 3 as well as symbol set 2 in there already. And if you scroll down, you see all the symbol set bitmap 2, bitmap A bitmap files in there, and so these are all prepared. So you don't need to combine these fill styles together, but I'll probably add another set of fills to my current map, so you still get to see how to do that. Okay, but as I said, I've already prepared a map a little bit. It's this one here, and it's just basically that I've set it to the correct size that I need already, so I don't need to do the rescaling here during the session, because I've done that several times before. What I wanted to add is a bitmap background, basically a sketch that I can base my map on, because I want to create a battle map of this fort here. That is one from the One Ring role-playing game from the Tales of Wilderland campaign, and I want to create a more elaborate battle map of that might be usable with miniatures or as a larger handout for the players, and so I'm going to base it on this bitmap here. And to do that, I've already set my sheet to bitmap and my layer to bitmap, and now I'm going to insert the bitmap in here to serve as a reference. For that, I'm going to go to Draw menu and Insert File, and here's my sketch that I have. Okay, and I'm going to start off on the lower left corner here and make the map almost the same size as my map, and here we are. It's all that I need at the moment, and I've already matched this to the map size, so I can roughly have the correct measurements in here. If I was working off this building here, which I don't have any exact measurements for this map, as you might notice there's no map scale on this. And there was no reference in the adventure either, how large things should be exactly, so I just roughly guessed how large something might be, measured this area here, came up with about 30 foot, so 10 meters for the front of this building, and scaled my map to this size. Yeah, I should also say that the map is by John Hodgson, who does excellent maps and did lots of the artwork for the old version of the One Ring role-playing game, not the new one, which is out now, but this is for the first version, first edition of the game. And his work is extraordinary. Alright, so I've got the size here right for my map. And what I want to do, I want to add a little bit of a transparency to my bitmap so I can see stuff through it while I'm working on it. Let's start off with a 30% opacity on this map. And there you can already see the brown background shimmering through the map. Alright, so I've got my brown background, which we might change later, but the main thing is the hill. Basically, it's a big rock that this structure is sitting on. I do have a visual reference for the structure as well. This is a view from the side, and you can see the view with a very steep switchback path going up to the gatehouse here, and then the partially ruined fort sitting on top of this rock. Alright. Yes, it's not only the songbirds that are loud outside, but also the other sounds from the street. But I do need to have the window open at the moment. It's very humid here, especially now after the thunderstorm, and already hot before that. So without the window open, I might probably suffocate here. So what I want to do is a rocky outline of the hill and add a shadow to that to make it look like it's standing out, like a bevel effect probably. And let's see what we can do with the rocks first. If I click on my all drawing tools here, you'll see that I am in the the color style, the basic Dungeon Designer 3 style, and I'm gonna check whether I actually have the separate style for the deluxe battle maps. I'm not entirely sure about that. It might just be the template and not the style itself. No, it doesn't look like that, so we're gonna work with that. Yes, okay, so I don't have that, so I'm gonna start out by with the general cliff drawing tool here. Click that and use this to draw the outline of my rock. I'm not bothered about hitting every nook and corner here, every line to be exact. I just want the general outline. Follow the original here all the way around, and then right click to finish, and there's my rocky outline. Okay, if I hide my bitmap here for the moment, we might already see that we already have a bevel effect here on this map. But I don't like the gray fill here on this one. What I want a more rocky feel for that. And for that I'm going to use a texture from Symbol Set 2. And let's see, change fill style, select my polygon, press D for do it, right click to bring up the bitmap fill, fill style dialog, and now we need to look for our cliffs. They're here. Let's see, and actually it might already be a bit large for this. Might be make it a little bit smaller, but let's have a look here. We could perhaps do this 50 feet for the fill style instead of the 75 feet. Go. So we do see more of a repeating pattern here at the moment, but I'm gonna add something in the center of this anyway, which should cover up most of the repeating texture here. Right, so Remy just mentions that he did a cliff last time. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get around to watching Remy's latest videos myself, so we might be redoing stuff here. And but you'll see different versions of how to do things, which is good, I guess. All right, so so much for that. Also, the cliff. And now I do want to, one can see the shadow is coming from the top right here, which is a bit, it's interesting, but we don't see much of the shadow here, so I'm going to take a look and see whether I can change my global sun direction, whether everything set up is in global to be affected by the global sun. To do that, I'm going to right click my display speed settings, global sun. The moment it's 45 degrees here, so let's go 90 degrees further to have the sun coming from the top left. That's 135 degrees, apply, and there you can see the shadow is turning off to the right, which is good. Let's makes this a little bit clearer. I might even go a little bit further and almost do 180 degrees, so like that. Okay, good. And let's have a cliff here. If I go on the wall shadow directional, if I edit that, I'm actually going to blur this a little bit more. Don't want the shadow on the hillock as clearly defined. Further. That looks good, like that. Okay, so much for the general outline here. Now I do want to put a flat top on top of the cliff, on top of the hill where all the buildings are, and for that I'm going to show my bitmap again. As you can see, the flat area it's very steep here on these three sides, not quite as steep here. So let's have a look outside, and we do have the cliff top layer here, and so we can use an outside terrain so it should be among these here, right? The terrain stuff. Let's try the mid-level gray for the top. We can always modify this later or add further textures. And then I'm just going to draw my flat area here around roughly where my wall is. And as I can see, the texture is fairly small on this one, and I might want to change this because it's a fairly large map, and then it just looks better if the textures are a bit smaller. What you can see, we do have a case of a so-called transparency acne, as there's pixels where the colors match exactly between these two bitmap fills. We do get points where Campaign Cartographer doesn't recognize which that there's a texture on top of the other and creates holes in them, and we get these points here. We're gonna fix that in a moment, but for now I want to change the transparency here, not the transparency, the scaling of the bitmap fill. See, it's only 10 foot, so let's have a look. Try with 25 feet. I really like that better. And how do we fix the transparency stuff like this? Well, what we can do is we can add an intermediate polygon that separates the two. So what we do need to do is actually I can't should not work on Hilltop 2. I've got another Hilltop tip bitmap sheet which I want to move this one first to, so I can still put other stuff on top of this. Hilltop, there we go. All right. And what we do is we do outside backing 1, move up, and now we make a copy of our entity, copy to sheet, do it backing 1, and now I hide the original one and edit this one here to give it a color separate from the other one, so there's no confusion in the pixels, and most importantly it needs to be a solid fill style. What we do need though is the same edge fade effect, so it doesn't shine through at the edges. Paste. Oh, actually, yeah, it does shine through a little bit. So we do need to increase this a little bit. Let's see how this works. And that looks good enough. All right, so we can still work on the edges of this later, do a bit more of an overlay over there. What I certainly want to do is want to add some more variation to the color here. For that I can use the Hilltop 2 sheet and go in here and go to one of the broken up textures. And let's take a little bit lighter one. We use 3, so I'm sorry, I need to go through the terrain ones here. Great. The T ones are the one with the T for transparent fill styles, so I'm gonna grab that, and now I'm gonna just add a little bit of variation and draw this on top of the existing one. And again, we do need to increase the texture of this, the scaling of this. To access the bitmap texture I'm using here, I'm using extract properties on the edge of the polygon, and that gives me the fill style up here in the properties bar. I can click on that and change my scaling for the fill style. And here I'm probably actually gonna remove the edge fade effect, or at least reduce it. No, I should reduce it, because otherwise the holes in the texture get too large. So it's just 1 unit. Am I on the correct one here? Yes. Oh, I should turn it on. Go. It's still a bit too clear, the edges here for my taste, so I'm gonna make the edge fade effect a little bit larger again. 2. And there we go. I can always go back in that later, and we'll be covering most of that with buildings and other stuff anyway, but I do have a first change in different textures on here. So what else do I need? I do need my path leading up to the edge of to the clock. Oh, sorry, I'm slowly going up to the top of the hill, and I'm gonna use the outside path for that, I guess. Right, and I'm gonna show my bitmap here again and zoom in here, and I'll probably need to make it a little more obvious again, so let's do 50% transparency. Yes, I see the path going up here towards the top, and for that I'll take a terrain texture again, and I'm going to use a dark brown for this one. So let's grab the 4 for this and start drawing my path here. Going around and coming up to the gate here. And now I'm going back down the other side of the path. I just need to leave a little bit of space between the two things here, two sides. Here's my general path, and I'll probably want to edit this a little bit, so I'm gonna hide the bitmap again. And I do want to move these edges a little bit to make that wider. I could just be using the same drawing tool again and do an edit. Might be easier if I can find that. This one here, E for edit, and then use that to make the path wider. Same down here. Okay, and I probably want to merge these a little bit more here. There we go. I could go in and perhaps draw in a few more shadows here, but we might need to add an extra sheet for that. Let's have a quick look what we have. First I want to make this the area of the path larger here, so it covers the edge of my cliff. There we go. Okay, I've just seen a question from DM Geezer Jim about the bitmap image I used to insert here. Actually, I didn't have a digital copy of that map, so I just took a picture with my phone, imported that into, grabbed that into Photoshop, cropped it, and made it smaller because I didn't need the full photo size, and then prepared that and saved that as a JPEG in the same folder here, so it was ready to be imported. So you can use any kind of bitmap image, JPEG, PNG, and other formats. Or if you have other formats, you need to convert them into these, and then you can import them while with the file insert into Campaign Cartographer. Okay, I do want to add a little bit of shadow underneath here, so it shows that there's basically drops from the side of the path. And let's have a see. We have an outside shadow option or sheet available, and we can probably just use that for our shadows. And for that, let's go to our background floor layer. I'm not gonna use a drawing tool for this. I just want to set the properties here myself. And for the shadow, I'm gonna add a semi-transparent bitmap of these solid ones here. So I'm gonna follow solid 60. And now I'm just gonna grab a smooth poly tool and draw these in by hand here. I've got the shadow coming up from the top left there. I'll add these here to make this a little bit clearer, that we've got a very steep edge there where the cliff is dropping off from the path. Here we go. I can see that quite nicely. I might make this a little bit blurrier. Can add a edge fade effect to that as well. Apply. Okay, let's have a look. Move this up. There we are. It's probably a little bit too large. Let's make it 2 units. No, I'm not so happy about the edge fade effect. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to uncheck, deactivate this effect and do a blur instead. Look how that looks. No, that's the problem then, is that the blur effect blurs the underlying texture, and that's not something I want in this case. No, I'm gonna stick with the wall shadow effect instead. Or do just the edge fade. Yeah, I think I'll just stay with this for now. I might add a bit more shadow here later on this side. I could actually probably do this right now already. See, this is a process where I might go back to things and change them around later. For now, I just want general indication where I want my shadows to be. There we are. Okay, so far so good. What I also want to do is add a little bit more variation to the path. And for that, I'm going to make a copy of the same texture. Non-visual copy of this entity. Do it. Oh, actually, what I should do first, I set my properties to the same as the original one, so I do keep the copy on the same sheet. Otherwise, it will go on the currently selected drawing sheet. And I'm gonna, as the copy origin, I'm gonna accept the 00 as the default and copy it to the same location, so it's on top of my current one. And then I'm gonna change the fill style by selecting prior, which will give me the copy I've just created. Press D for do it. Right click that, and now I'm gonna add a little bit lighter broken texture, or change it to that broken texture. And as you can see now, we do have a mottled appearance of the background, but I still want to make that texture larger, so it's not so small, and that's how I want it. Okay, so much for the path for the moment. What we certainly do need is a little bit more the transition from the rock to the dirt beneath that, or below that, is too stark here at the moment. I do need to add some variation there. It's going to probably do that with some rock symbols as well as different textures to put underneath. First off, I think what I can do is change the fill style for size for the brown bitmap, which I think is the one in the background. Make it a little bit larger. Yeah, well, it's already better. Might it even be a little bit larger still, 25 feet. There we are. And now I do need to put a bit of rock around that. So we've got my hill is on the cliff sheet, and I want to put something on the outside sheet here. Let's have a look what we can do. Come on, here we are. We can use again one of the broken up dirt ones, or we might just go first with some the same rocky texture. Not quite sure how I want to do this. Let's give it a try first. I was with the gray terrain bitmap fill. Here we are, terrain fills, and the 3-1, and let's put that on the outside here. A bit of an edge around, not where the path goes up the hill. And do an outline of my rock here. Okay, that's clearly not how I want this to be at the moment, but we can adjust the sheet. First we're gonna adjust the bitmap fill size here again. There we are. And then the outside effect should not have a glow. I think actually quite good with just having the plain bitmap fill there. And then I want to add a bit of, or what actually I want is a little bit of edge fade effect again. There we are. And the area on around the rock in the adventure is actually swampy, so we might add some greens around this. Let's have a look. Let's go first. Let's have. I think what I should do is I should change the brown background here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the dirt and grass background, again rescaled, and change the fill style by layer background. So I just want the general background, so not this one. Do it to the dirt and grass background. Yeah, that's already better. Although it might still be a little bit larger. 35. Okay, and now I'm gonna use the outside gravel here. It's not quite appropriately named, but I'm gonna go in and go for some darker greens here. Like this. Grass dry. No, I want a green grass, dark green grass, I think is what I want. So I'm going to go for this one. Oh, actually I want to change something here, because this will be restricted to map border, but I want a edge fade effect, or have an edge fade on that, which I don't want on the border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to uncheck the restrict to map border. Yep. And this will allow me to draw just beyond the border here, basically hiding my edge fade effect behind this green entity. So I'm going to do the same here along all the edges. And follow the outside of the map. Again, I want a rescale of the texture. One thing on my wish list for Campaign Cartographer 4 is a ability to from the interface to just rescale all the bitmap fills quickly and easily in the map. But this has the advantage that I can rescale all them individually as they place them and see how they affect them, because I do different scales for them here, so I place the polygons on the map. Alright, and I like that. That's a good start here. We might still add some more textures and broken textures later. But as a background, this is fine for me. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to load the caves catalog and have a look for my rocks. Got some large rocks here. And I could, I think my area is pretty large. So what I'm doing, I could scale the symbols a little larger. Let's do double-sized symbols for now for the big rocks. It's really big rocks. And add these at the base of my cliffs. See, like this, covering up some of the harsher edges and the shadows in here. And then go for the smaller ones and build a rocky base to my cliff. There you can see that. And I'd go around the map like this. all around my hilltop. Some individual rocks a little bit further out. And I'll just do it here for now on this side and keep the other side for later. There we go. That's how the rocky base will look all around the map. Later, what I can also do is I can go to the symbols. I've got a symbols and a symbols flat sheet in here. What I can usually do or can do is add a symbols low, so an intermediate symbols layer. So see that symbols flat has no shadows at all. The symbols layer has a glow and a okay, the cat is here. Hi, Asa. She was a bit afraid of the thunderstorm, but is fine again now, I think. And I'm gonna grab the effects here, copy symbols low. Actually, I might turn off the glow and just make the drop shadow here shorter, so the symbols appear lower. And then I'm gonna grab some smaller rocks and put them alongside the edge of the road. Oops, that was a wrong zoom. Let's go here. And add some gravel edges to the path. Oops, that's too much, too big rocks too big. Might even go back to normal size here again. And like this, to show this is the base of the cliff here, and same this edge here, it goes up. There's some fall rock collected below the cliff. Alright, so much for that. Next, let's think a little bit about the wall. We do have a wall going all around the upper edge of my hill here, along the cliff edge. If we take a look at my bitmap, see this is the wall here, and we do need to add that in some way. So it's just a very narrow wall, so not much in the way of crenellations or larger ways to move on top of it. So I'm gonna just go with the normal wall, I think. Let's have a look what we can do in the way of fill styles. Let's just start off by just drawing a line around that and then later editing this. So I'm just going to grab this and just draw the path to start with. Tracing the bitmap. This will give me the rough shape, and as we can adjust all the properties later, I don't need to worry about these beforehand. I can just use some of the default simple walls and then go from there. This bit will cover up with buildings later on. For now, I'm just gonna grab this, use extract properties to get the oops, no, this is actually, I think I've drawn too closely to the edge there. This way I can see the wall more probably. Extract properties, clicked here somewhere and grabbed the edge of my backing polygon. That's why we switched to that. If I use the wall here, then we are on the walls. So the first thing is my 0.5 size. Width of the wall is a bit too narrow, so I want this wider. So I'm gonna use right click, just use change line width, select the wall, press D for do it, and type in 2. There. It's already closer to what I want, but the fill style is a bit too even, too flat for a rough wall, so that's not something I want. So I'm gonna first look through my fill styles and see what I have. Bricks could work, but still probably a bit regular. I've got the dark dirt. I've always got the flagstones here, which make nice wall textures. But I might want something like the paving stones here. That might work well. Or the wall, the cobble, though that might be a bit too strong. The texture in there. Let's try the paving. So I'm going to right click, change fill style, press D for do it, right click to bring up the fill styles dialog, and now I'm going to go for the paving stones there. Yeah, and I quite like that because it looks roughly similar to the rocky texture and all that. The size is already also pretty good at this. So I quite like how this looks. So we've got the wall, the general outline of the wall created. So next up, I want to look at some buildings here. And for that, I'm thinking about looking at some symbols and even perhaps textures and tools from City Designer, because that's always a good addition if you want to create roofs and so on. So let's have a look for some city styles. So I'm going to go up from Dungeon Designer, from the cities to the city subfolders. We've got the city ruins, for example. See. But this is a more hand-drawn fill style by Pair, which is not quite fitting to my rather a bit photorealistic textures, so it's not something what we're gonna go for. And Craft Town is also more hand-drawn. We do have the stuff from Sue's fill styles for the I forgot the name, but this would be under Dungeons actually. That's why I'm not seeing it here. That's the Forest Trail. That's what Creepy Crypts what I meant. There's at least there's ruin buildings in there, but I'm not sure if there's not full ruins in there, if I not full towers or something in there, if I remember correctly. Structures mapped. No, that's these things. Yeah. This is where I would have loved to have a little bit more time this afternoon to think about what I want to use, but let's take our time and take a look. We've got the Winter Trail. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Cities. Wanted to go to cities again. We've got the city street stuff. Let's see what we got in there. I think that's nice, but would be quite fitting. That's work by Alyssa Faden, but I don't think it has towers in there. So, city ruins. Got the city domes, city on rock. So, but that's mostly cliff symbols, if I remember that correctly. Yeah, that's the cliff symbols by Sue. City Designer 3, we do have the bitmap A style, but I don't think it has. That would be very fitting from the style, but I don't think it has towers like I'm looking for in there. Plain stone towers. Trying to think, I had some style. Ruins in Darkland City. Ah, yes, that's a good suggestion from Sue. I think that's probably the one I was looking for. Yes, that's the stuff. Excellent. Thank you very much, Sue. Always ready with helpful advice and remember stuff much better than I do with my leaky memory. All right, so we've got lots of interesting roofs here on which we can use. And let's have a quick look through them. We've got some towers with tiles. We also have these down towers here. Let's take this small tower here. This is pretty perfect. Remy says Sue's promoting her own stuff again, and I'm very happy with her promoting her stuff because it's great. So, and as you can see, we do have the symbols aligning to the edges here, which can be useful, especially as I want to align the tower to the edge of the cliff. But I do probably need their own sheet for that, because otherwise it's gonna be a bit... the shadows should be larger than on the normal symbols, so I could put them on the trees, because yeah, I'm gonna put them on symbols trees. No, that is again a bit unpractical because on top of everything else, let's do a new symbol sheet. So, symbols, buildings. Let's add stuff later. All right. Line this, then I'm going to move it up here. So probably should make it a bit smaller first. Yeah, it's a bit large. The tower, let's make it a bit smaller. Then align it, and then move it in position. There we go. Then make a second one even a bit smaller. I can turn off the smart symbol tracking if I want to align it by hand, as I do here. So the tower's a bit irregular there. The symbol, or I might actually... Should I take a look at the sketch of bitmap of the original map? Might be better. As you can see, my tower is already far larger than the stuff that was on the original map. So let's undo it for the moment. Grab this one here and go back to symbols, buildings. There we go, one here. Scale this, rotate this a little bit there. And then I could use the bridge symbol actually to put the wall. I could have these nice city wall sections that I can put on there. Oops! Now I'm gonna turn off the bitmap again. Let's erase this one and use a longer one. Oops! I don't want to erase the path. Do it. There we are. the metric version. It's the feet version. Let's just scale that so this matches the two towers together, and then send it to the back so it's behind the two tower symbols. Actually, the towers do need to be above the wall sheet, obviously. So move down. So the wall sheet comes first. Walls are drawn first, and then the symbol buildings are drawn on top of that. So far, so good. And now let's grab the sheet effects, paste them on the new sheet, and make the direction that larger. And I like that. Looks pretty good. And there we do have the general outline of my fortress or fort on top of the hill. And next up we are gonna take a look at the buildings inside of our compound. And Darkland City seems to be a good choice to stay with here, so we can just use the symbols as we have them. And because the buildings in here are partially derelict, we do have the perfect symbols for this. This large building here, for example. Let's take a look at all the big derelict buildings here. This looks pretty good. Symbols, buildings, here we go. Scale this. This is good enough match for me. Should actually put this on structures or on my. Let's create a new layer for this. So I do have this on its own layer. Buildings. Yes, we've got a question whether I'll make the FCV available. Yes, I can do that. I can make I'm not going to finish this map in this session. I want to come back to it in next week perhaps and finish it then if possible. So if you want to, I can make the interim version available, or I can also just make the finished version available once it's done. So let's hide the bitmap again. And there's my building. I'm thinking I might want to, perhaps I'm going to go in and create the house buildings via the City Designer House tool, because I don't want that many features on top of the roof. So I might go in and draw my own house buildings. But I'm going to decide that next time, because we are pretty much done with our hour of mapping tonight, and I'll make a break here and come back to this map probably next week. Granted, there's assuming that there's no big thunderstorms again at the same time, but the weather forecast looks like it's gonna be today's the end of thunderstorms for a while. Yeah, fingers crossed. So thanks for following along. Hope you enjoyed this so far, and you can already see how this will eventually come out, but all the detail will make up will give the whole thing its character and make up the appeal of the map in the end. Thank you very much, and see you again next week, and enjoy your summer back home for now. And keep up map making. I think tomorrow I'll go and look at the maps of May and collect the maps of the month together. That's on the agenda for tomorrow. So I'm gonna get to see all your maps from May, but I'll hopefully in July have another great selection made in June. So keep up the good work, and see you again next week. Have a good night. Bye bye.